Welcome back to the news today. Caitlyn Jenner, who was previously known as Bruce Jenner, appeared on the cover of Vanity Fair this week. Shocking. Just a second. Okay, just before that. Okay, appeared on the cover of Vanity Fair this week, shocking the world with her new look and her new life. But next to the countless compliments and positive feedbacks from Lady Gaga to Barack Obama, Caitlyn is creating a big debate over whether her high-profile transformation is beneficial to the LGBT community. And with me right now here in the studio to discuss this is correspondent Ayman Siksik. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming.
Good evening, Lucy.
And also Nina Halevy, transgender woman and public representative in the committee dedicated to sex change issues at the Health Ministry. Good evening. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
So, I will just start with statistics. A UN report is showing that between the years 2008 and 2014, 1,700 transgenders were murdered because the decision to live their lives. And this number is horrible. This number is just saying about us as a society that we're not accepting somebody who's deciding to live his own life the way that he wants.
That's right, Lucy. And you know, this is the danger about the love story we've seen with Caitlyn Jenner since she was on the cover of Vanity Fair. Overwhelming support from all over the world, especially in the US. The President of the United States, as you mentioned, called her a hero. A cover of Vanity Fair, a highly respected international magazine. But let's look at reality. And the reality is that even in the US, the country that's hailing Jenner as a hero, in the first 3 months of this year, at least 11 transgender women were murdered because they were transgender. And transgender women still suffer from discrimination in the workplace. They're not able to be admitted to workplaces, many workplaces, especially transgender women of color. So I think the question is really what will happen the day after the celebrations die out? Is this the woman that is really going to be able to tackle the hard job of changing the public debate about transgender women in the US?
You know, I think the best woman to answer this is Nina here, that you went through this. I believe you went through the double looks and maybe the double standards that people have, the mix people don't understand, and even maybe not accepting the choice that you made. Yeah. And this, with this high profile, with what we saw, all the news were talking about this. Is it actually helping, or it's not the truth?
I have no doubt that it helps transgender people all over. I think any coming out story is a heroic story. Any coming out story is a story about a choice to live your life fully as yourself. I think these stories are all moving and they're all empowering no matter what your circumstances is. Going across the gender boundary is always one of the bravest things a human being can do in this life. And I think it's always awe-inspiring and it's not even up to someone like Caitlyn Jenner even to carry on the battle. The story itself has huge empowering value. And I think the way the mass media works, these images, they travel very fast all around the world and trickle down to the farthest village in Pakistan or in Africa or in Russia. And people just when the family sits for dinner and they see these images on TV, something may eventually move them to accept their little boy or little girl who's struggling with their gender identity and maybe trying to come out as their authentic self.
Nina, how it was for you?
For me, I think it was quite easy, I must say. Someone who transitions at a ripe age and has a job and has a family and has a large circle of friends and a very understanding spouse and a loving daughter. For me, it was easy. It wasn't a very, very dramatic story. The fact that I was out from very early on and I started a business that was somewhat popular, and it kind of diverted the subject, and people just, came to see me as what I was doing and not as what I transitioned to be. So it was quite easy. I think for young people...
I have to say that I tasted one of your best. You're a great chef. This is what I just have to say. You're a great chef. So whomever is in Israel should come and taste some.
I'm not at the bakery anymore.
Yes.
I'm working actually as a gender outreach.
And I stopped going to the coffee just since you're not there, just so you know. So.
Yeah, so that's okay. But I think that for young people coming out at a very young age, in traditional backgrounds and in patriarchal societies, it's a very, very difficult journey to do.
Exactly in this point, because I want to take it, for example, Nina mentioned right now, people maybe in Afghanistan or Iran sitting down and seeing this huge story of Caitlyn Jenner.
Or in the Bible Belt USA, mind you.
Yes, and you know, seeing, are they able to actually accept this? Because, you know, for Caitlyn, it was really easy. She's coming from the Kardashians, she's a family, she's coming from, you know, high profile, everybody's looking at it. And maybe she's showing that for her, it was like quite, but it's not in a patriarch family. It's not in a, it's not easy like, for example, in the Arab society.
That's true. I mean, I think that's really the point. Caitlyn Jenner is starting a large public debate in the US about transgender men and women, transgender people in general, and that's an extremely positive move forward. But does it allow us to ignore reality? Does it allow us to think that things are better than they actually are? Does it allow us to feel self-righteous by following her on Twitter, as millions did within 4 hours, and explaining our support for her publicly? Do we not ignore the UN report that you mentioned, which outlines how dangerous the world is still for transgender people, how there's still misunderstanding, there's still discrimination, there is still an extreme difficulty to accept them into society? And Caitlyn Jenner, this is the danger that we have to look out for. It's a great, heroic story, but we also have to remember that in the last few years, Bruce Jenner, her former self, achieved acclaim on the Kardashians, where he was a reality star, like the rest of his family, achieving fame through scandal. It's not a pleasant thing to say, but that's what it was, and it worked for years. Is this really the woman who we want to lead this debate right now? Because she's basically the most high-profile transgender woman in the world right now.
In the world, and this is maybe putting, you know, mixing the two things, because, you know, today when we're asking young people, what do you want to do when you will grow up? They're not telling you, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a journalist, I want to be famous, or I want to be Kim Kardashian, or I want to be... This is, and coming from this specific place, coming from a reality show, coming from a trash reality show, is this really sending a positive message to young people there who maybe are confused with their sexual identity?
Well, just thinking of it this moment, I'd say that trash reality is here to stay. And if this is what people watch, they may as well watch somebody come out to their true gender identity. And it's still valuable no matter what Caitlyn Jenner chooses to do on or off screen. The act itself, I think, is inspiring. And it's not up to her to get a Nobel Prize, like receive a Nobel Prize for peace. I'm not expecting that of her. I think each one of us has an obligation to do something to help other people. And I think if she uses her fame just to come out publicly and just inspire people, that's good enough for me. I won't argue with her over whether she becomes a nun and goes to feed the hungry and lepers in India.
What is driving me? Why am I asking this? Because what is driving me crazy today? Bruce Jenner's wife, Caitlyn's ex-wife, said, I don't understand why she was with me all this time. I don't understand why she married me. So now they're making a scandal out of a personal story, a personal struggle that is, you know, it's supposed to be, like you said, an example to people how to be brave and actually to live their own lives. So this is putting us again into this controversial debate.
And this is part of the rules of reality television. Everything about your life becomes entertainment. And we know, of course, that even his coming out story, which was very touching, was filmed for E! And they said that the moment that he came out to his family, Kris Jenner, his former wife, called the producers and said, come over now and film this, and that's what they did. It's an extremely difficult thing to understand and imagine that a family would want this moment, this particular moment in their life filmed. And I agree with Nina that maybe it doesn't matter what the person does in their life as long as they put this discussion into the mainstream. But for people who don't understand transgender men and women, for people who discriminate against them, wouldn't it make it easier for them to say, well, he's trash anyway, he does reality, why should we take this woman seriously?
I think people who are prejudiced, they always will find the reality to reflect their prejudices. I don't think we should really kind of calculate our steps beforehand to answer to that. I think prejudice, fear, hatred, they're here to stay for a while. I wouldn't expect, again, Caitlyn Jenner to do something very, very noble with her life just because she came out as trans. Trans people are just people, basically. Maybe a little braver than other people because they really have to cross the gender boundary, which is a very, very frightening thing to do. But I would say that generating a discussion is always healthy, in my opinion.
What is passing in the soul? Because, you know, this transformation from being a man, you know, with everything that comes with a man, like Bruce Jenner, that was a fighter, an athlete, and was in the Marines, and he finds himself as a woman, being more gentle, being more maybe, you know, I don't know. I don't want to put to get into stereotypes, but you know, there is differences between men and women. What is the emotional process that you go through?
First of all, I think the emotional process is a process in which I personally, which I lived as a man until the age of 45, and then one day I just figured out that what I always felt inside meant that I actually was a woman. It meant that for the first period of several months, you can kind of think on both tracks as what it means for you as a man and what it means for you as a woman before these things get integrated, and this feeling of sitting on the fence and viewing both worlds and the differences in which they use body language, verbal language, express their emotions, etc., is very, very interesting. And I'm very lucky to have had that experience. By now, it's kind of integrated, so I'm not there anymore. But I would say that the fact that a person can live the life of an alpha male and then at some point just break out from that and change size and express a different side in their personality, I think it's an invitation to view all gender as basically construct and masks and role playing more than anything else.
And I will say that the gain is all ours, the woman gender that you came to us.
Thank you very much. But really, I think it's really an invitation to look very deeply into the subject of gender and how, in a way, even if you're not transgender, it kind of oppresses you no matter what, because you always try to be more male or more female or more something than you really are.
Nina, my lady, thank you very much for coming. I'm a 66. Thank you very much for coming.